everybody, and welcome to Self-Help FAQ, the YouTube channel. I'm Barb, your host. And last week we were talking about mental overload or mental clutter, how sometimes what looks like overthinking is really a form of protection. It's your mind trying to keep you safe. But that leads to a really important question. If your mind is really trying to protect you, how do you know if it's really protecting you accurately or if it's just spinning out of control? So how do you tell the difference between awareness or really looking at what's happening right in front of you, or if it's anxiety? Because they can feel almost identical in the beginning, and confusing them can change the course of your relationship. So that's what we're going to get into today, the difference between awareness or seeing what's actually going on, or is it your anxiety? And I'm not a licensed psychologist, so I can't go deeply into anxiety and how to work with anxiety. You'll have to talk to a professional about that. And there you can find numbers, you can Google that or find numbers online or help online. But anyway, let's get started. So when something feels off, your body usually feels it first. There's a subtle shift, some tension, and a subtle alertness. But then the mind steps in and you're asking, is this my intuition? Or am I being insecure? Am I really being discerning here? Or is this overthinking? If you call awareness anxiety, then you're overriding it. If you call anxiety awareness, you escalate it. Either way, you lose clarity. So this distinction isn't academic, it's practical. Awareness is quieter than people think. It usually doesn't scream, it doesn't demand, and it doesn't panic. It feels like a steady noticing, a calm repetition, a pattern forming, a grounded discomfort. So awareness says, this keeps happening. It doesn't need drama, and it doesn't need certainty immediately. It just registers consistency, and here's what's important. When you slow down, awareness becomes clearer, not louder. It stabilizes. Now, anxiety, on the other hand, feels urgent. It wants resolution right now, and it sounds like, what if I'm wrong? What if I lose this? What if I'm imagining things? What if something terrible is happening? Anxiety scans for things and it loops. It searches for reassurance. It multiplies possibilities. Think of it this way. When you become aware of something repeating, things narrow. But when you're anxious, you have anxiety, things expand. This doesn't make anxiety bad. It just means anxiety needs regulation before decision making. We confuse awareness and anxiety because both activate your nervous system, both feel uncomfortable, and both of them arise in uncertainty. And if you've been hurt before, like most of us have, you're actually primed for threat. So sometimes real awareness gets dismissed as paranoia, and real anxiety gets elevated as intuition. That's why emotional regulation matters so much. Not to suppress your signals, but to interpret them accurately. So if you're not sure which one of them you are experiencing, here's a little test you can take. Ask yourself, is this based on repeated behavior or a single moment? If I step back and breathe, does this feeling sharpen or spiral? Am I reacting to what is happening, or am I reacting to what I fear might happen? Awareness becomes steadier with time, but anxiety becomes louder with imagination. And that's often the dividing line. Now here's where things get a little deeper. Sometimes it's not that we can't tell the difference. It's that awareness threatens something we don't want to lose. Awareness threatens the relationship we'd hoped for, the future we'd imagined, the identity of being chosen, and the stability we worked hard to build. So anxiety feels chaotic, but awareness feels consequential, and consequences are uncomfortable. So instead of saying something isn't lining up, we say, I'm probably just being anxious. It's probably just my anxiety. And so sometimes calling it anxiety is a way to postpone grief, and that's human. So when you see something happening and you're trying to discern, what's going on, that's not being suspicious. That's being willing to sit with clarity when it emerges. So clarity doesn't always mean you have to act right away, but you do have to be honest with yourself. You don't have to accuse, you don't have to panic, you don't have to make a dramatic move, but you do have to be willing to see what you see. And that takes emotional steadiness. So when you want to grow your powers of discernment in becoming aware of things, some of the things you want to do are track patterns instead of moments, slow down before reacting, regulate your body before deciding, ask calm questions instead of assuring, and especially watch how someone responds to your questions. That tells you a lot. And then you're going to have to tolerate the discomfort when your awareness and discernment begin to solidify, because once you see clearly, you can't unsee it. You can't lie to yourself. And once you become clear, then that demands movement. But we're going to wait till March to get into that. We'll talk about what happens when your awareness is repeatedly postponed. In postponing, we might call it hope, we might call it loyalty, we might call it commitment, but sometimes it's something else. So tune in March to learn about that. So again, keep in mind that awareness is steady and anxiety is urgent. Awareness clarifies, narrows the field of what you can think on what is happening, and anxiety intensifies or expands to many possibilities, causing you to not be able to think clearly. And learning the difference helps protect you in your relationships, and also protects you from staying in something that erodes you. Because sometimes what we override as anxiety is actually the beginning of a pattern we don't want to face. And so that's what we'll be talking about next time. What happens when you override your awareness, refuse to see what's right in front of you, and that ends up making you stay in relationships too long. And I've been guilty of that myself quite a few times because I didn't want to see what was right there in front of me. And so I wasted a lot of time with the wrong people. And that will be video 9, starting in March, probably March 9th too. Okay, it's time for the journal questions for today. We've got a couple of good ones. The first one is my discomfort about this person or about who I might have to become if I admit what I see? And the second one is, if nothing changes, how will I feel 6 months from now? That's it for today's video. Thank you for joining me at Self-Help FAQ, the YouTube channel. And I hope to see you in March to begin our last 4 videos of the 12 video series on boundaries and all the subcategories of boundaries. Thanks a lot. Have a nice rest of your week, or rest of your day. And we'll see you next time in March. And bye for now.